Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Show, sponsored by MAGNOS Dentistry, where it's all about restoring confidence and smiles. And this show, by the way, is brought to you by not only MAGNOS Dentistry, but they're out of Belo Horizonte, Brazil. You're watching the Maurice Brown Show. Our special guest today is an actor that was a co-star in a short film that I wrote and produced last year called Chance. It is currently on the festival circuit right now. As a matter of fact, we were nominated for Best Short Film this year down in Weatherford, Texas at the Content Christian Media Conference. That's at Capernaum Studios, where they shot the first season of The Chosen. Our special guest today is an actor, and he's also, beyond his work on screen as an actor, he's also the founder of Hard Knock Gospel, which is a mental health, addiction, and homeless outreach program built on raw truth, unvarnished, lived experience, and genuine human connection. So you got to check that out. He's also a former athlete who has some pretty huge exploits here in the state of Texas, where we are both located. With no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the very talented Spence Otto. What's up, Spence?
What's up? Thanks, man. You give me too much credit. I'm glad to be here.
Man, it's great to have you on the show, man. I tell you, we had a great time filming Chance last year, and it's quite an honor to be nominated for Best Short Film. And hopefully we can stretch that out into a full feature length.
Yeah.
And my plans are sometime in late 2027 to start shooting the full feature length version of that film.
Awesome.
But let's really, I want to talk about your Hard Knock Gospel journey because it's a pretty big platform that you have. Big following on social media. Tell us a little bit about Hard Knock Gospel.
Yeah, man. So I'm a recovering addict. I battled addiction for almost 14 years, from right out of high school until a little over 3 years ago. And when I got sober, I wasn't on social media at all. And one day a friend was like, dude, you should just start making reels about your life and tell about your story. And so I started doing that. And
okay.
So I just started going viral. And so I just started building this platform. And really, man, I like to take my experience, strength, and hope and just show the world that, we're never truly forgotten. We're never truly down and out. The world likes to think we are. But if anything's recoverable, I think personally, and my story attests to that. And so that's really where it started. And I'm on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and I'm got a really big audience. And I'm just glad to be doing some positive things in the world.
Yeah. And you started out and as I said, we're both in Austin, Texas. And I guess more specifically, you're located in Pflugerville, where you starred in high school. And as a football player, and you had an opportunity, you got a full scholarship at West Point to play at Army, which is that's a highly coveted opportunity for any young athlete going to West Point. And like I said, you were a star at Pflugerville. And so, how did the discipline you learned on the football field help you sustain through your toughest and most massive moments later in life?
Man, great question. I think for me, I've always been a competitor, and I've always wanted to be the best. And whatever I've done in life, and in sports, that came out naturally, because it came down to I want to just be better than the person across me. I wanted to beat them. And so that competitive fire, later on, like when I was homeless, I remember thinking, I'm not going to let this beat me. I'm going to beat the streets, and they're not going to take me down. And so I think that same competitive nature I had for sports is really what saved my life in many ways, and still continues to this day.
And on your blog and videos, you talk candidly about humanizing the struggle and showing that anyone is just one, and I love this, one circumstance away from a completely different life. A lot of us don't realize that sometimes, you know,
Yeah.
we're one circumstance away, all of us. How does Hard Knock Gospel challenge the common misconceptions people hold about addiction and homelessness?
Yeah, so I like to throw this out there. I like to say, uh, someone posed this to me a long time ago too. They said, "Could you ever kill anyone?" And naturally, I'd say, "Well, no, of course not." "Could you ever sell your body for money?" "Of course not." Then the next question is, okay, what if someone broke into your home in the middle of the night? What if your kid wasn't going to eat tonight? Would you change then? And the answer would be like, well, maybe. And so for someone like me, the circumstance was largely due to my own hand, but it was a circumstance nonetheless. And I think in times in life, we can get down on our luck. We can have raw hands dealt to us. And really, overnight, it was for me at least, our whole thing can change and we become someone we never thought we could be. And it's a very humbling thing I like to hold close to my heart, because it just shows that we're really not as, at least for me, I'm not as, bulletproof as I think I am or thought I was,
Yeah, no, and that's, that's something that, I guess when you're an athlete at that particular level, and whether it's football, basketball, baseball, boxing, you name it. I mean, and I think I've heard this said on about football players a lot of times. You're so big and the sport is so violent, and you're performing at a high level, and then you get out here, you just think you're invincible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just think you're invincible, and then you get out here, man, and you find out nothing is further from the truth.
Exactly. 100%. I like to say that I was a little boy, and I say this with love about myself, but I was a little boy dressed up in a man's body most of my life, because I always kind of looked a lot older than I was. And later on in life, I just realized, man, I've been so over my head in everything. I thought I was so tough, but I was just a little kid looking for love in all the wrong places,
And I like what you said too about we're all one circumstance away. I heard a pastor talking about a conversation he had with a friend of his. Matter of fact, it was Miles McPherson. Miles McPherson played.
Oh, yeah.
He played cornerback for the San Diego Chargers back in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. He's a pastor now of the Rock Church in San Diego. But he was talking with a buddy of his, and they're both doing really well. And his friend shared with him. He said, "Man, I'm so worried that I'm going to be homeless." Guy has plenty of money. He's really successful, but one of his fears was becoming homeless. And I think to dumb that down or to deuce it or water it down, a lot of us don't realize, not only are we one circumstance away from it, a lot of us are only one paycheck away from it. If you lost your job, if you lost your livelihood, the ability to pay your bills, it could happen like that.
Yep.
If you really thought about it, and people kind of look down on people that are on the street, and a lot of people that are on the street, a lot of those people are not bad people. They're just regular people that had that one circumstance you're talking about.
Yeah, a lot. And the thing, what's crazy is there were more people on the streets who helped me and loved me where I was at than like people I grew up in the church with. And that sounds awful, but that was the truth. And when you start to see that, hey, these are not demons, these are not, horrible people. It's just someone who maybe was on the wrong side of the tracks for lack of a better term. And you start to see that, hey, man, we're all just people doing the best we can with what we have, some a lot less than others. And it's very humbling and really helped me humanize not only myself, but the world around me,
Yeah, I mean, so I like the fact that you mentioned that, because I think that, people become arrogant and think that, oh, that's never going to happen to me. Some people say, well, that's never going to happen to me, and they have to kind of stick their nose in the air and they don't think about the reality. I remember when I moved to Texas in 2022, and it was so hot. I couldn't believe the heat, and there were homeless people like lying. I mean, it's nothing to see homeless people in Austin, but they were, it was new to me. They were lying out just like spread eagle in front of, stores. And I walked into a CVS, man, I just looked at the guy, and I just went inside and I bought him a great big jug of water.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe how appreciative, like genuinely appreciative the person was in sharing that, and it's like, man, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I shouldn't, but I think, I do try to be cognizant if I can help in any way to do that.
Yeah. You know what's funny, Maurice, is that little gesture right there did more for that person than you'll probably ever realize, because you didn't just buy him water. You validated him as a person and said, hey, I see you. Because most people walk by him, and if they do talk to him, it's derogatory. They spit on him, things like that. So
yeah. It's amazing the levels that people will go to. Well, clearly, you have risen above and beyond that, and you and I had an opportunity to shoot a film this past year, the short movie Chance. And I want to show everyone real quick the trailer before we talk about it a little bit more. This is the trailer from our short film, which was nominated for Best Short at Content Christian Media Conference in Weatherford, Texas. Check it out.
No child is trash to God. When you understand what Christ really did for you, you know there is no sin that is too much for God to forgive. He gave his only Son so that all men might be saved.
Well, he has a sense of humor.
God?
No, I was thinking Washington, but yeah, I guess God too. Why don't you go to a show tonight?
A show? The guy's a nut. He probably just shouts scripture at the crowd the whole time.
Well, you know what? You got to check it out. The guy that played that role was myself. I played the role of that nut in the film, who actually had we run into these people all the time, Bible thumping, over the top, insufferable Christians who go a little bit too far. And so I made light of the role here, and all of a sudden I'm partnered with this guy. Just to give you some background on the film, it's about a young man that was sexually assaulted as a youth, and he never shared it with anyone. And now he's a detective with an anger issue, which obviously is from his experience. Never shared it even with his wife. His wife's not aware of it. And so we just kind of touch on a serious theme and try to maybe soften the blow with a little bit of humor. But it's a real issue in our country. And a lot of people don't like talking about. Here's some shots from the film. Carter Nelms, who played the lead role of the character I'm speaking of, Stephen Riker. And we were at the very Content Christian Media Conference that I was speaking of last year for another film that I was nominated for called Unknown Kingdom. And then, of course, Carter was there as well. Haley Knutson, who's also in the film. And here's another shot of us outside of one of the homes where we shot one of our key scenes. Really loved hanging out with that group. And this is another scene. Actually, that's from Unknown Kingdom. Disregard. That's me there on stage before performing in some stand-up comedy. Venus Monique actually is not in. That's not Venus. There's Venus right there. And myself, Carter, Haley Knutson, and Ethan Larson. And there's me and Spence and Carter. And we had a chance to be in one of the pivotal scenes in the film in the interrogation room. And this is where we're going to be September 25th at the Honor Awards at Content Christian Media Conference. Once again, our film was nominated for Best Short, which is a great honor. And I can't wait for everyone out there to get a chance to see this film, because we're still on the festival circuit and in the running for other nominations. But, let's dive into this short film that you were part of, Spence. By the way, you did a great job.
Thank you. It's fun being a part of it.
When you first read the script and looked at your character, what immediately connected with you?
perpetuated any kind of horrible crime like that, I immediately connected with how he was living this double life. He was this church figure who people clearly trusted, but then there's this dark side, and he's living this whole complete other life. And that's kind of how I was most of my life. On one hand, I was the quarterback and the good kid, but on the other hand, I was kind of up to no good, and I played both sides, one off the other. And I immediately connected with that. And I think that's so far more common today than people realize, especially in churches and places where, people have these great titles, so they're just automatically trusted. That's what jumped off to me, at least.
No, and I think that's a great point. I mean, I think that a lot of churches are congregated with people that are living double lives. And I think in America, it's very prevalent, especially and it doesn't have to be a mega church. It can be any church. But I think a lot of these churches that are well funded and you have the upper echelon of society attending them, they have this awesome, appearance of good. But on the other hand, there's a double life there that many people don't know about. Matter of fact, I kind of dive into that in my feature film that's coming up. We're going to prayerfully start working on that, called Unknown Kingdom, where I did win an award for the short. Now we're working on the full feature length, and it talks about that. You've trained extensively in the Meisner technique.
Yeah.
And which is all about truth and performance. And then you kind of actually already answered the question, but I'll throw it out anyway. I mean, how much of your real life resilience did you channel into your role in Chance?
Man, good question. I would say the raw, especially the interrogation scene, just that raw feeling of, you're not gonna be better than me. Just this pompous attitude of I can get over on people. That's, although I didn't connect the dots at the time, that's kind of how I live my life. Like this arrogant attitude of I'm better than you and you'll never catch me. And so that I really felt that. But at the same time, it was kind of hard because like just knowing who Mitch Flowers is, it was hard to connect with like, oh, do I really want to be this slimy person? But like Meisner teaches you just truthful in the moment. And so for me, a lot of it was just letting it go, just doing the best I could, and then just letting the pieces fall where they may,
Carter and I were talking about this on our last week, and I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Fargo or not. Have you ever seen Fargo?
Oh yeah.
So the weird guy, I don't know, and I wish I could call his name because then you would know what I'm talking about. But there was one of the bad guys, the unseemly characters in Fargo. And anytime you see an A-list type movie, he's usually the creep.
Yeah.
He's usually the bad guy. And he's really, really good at it, but he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And I think when you're doing films, and I guess maybe particularly faith-based films, it's hard to find people that are willing to play creepy, unseemly, bad guy, villainous roles.
Right.
And people who are willing to play those are needed in order to tell the story.
Yeah.
And so you did a great job there. I mean, after all, it was about the message that we were trying to convey.
Yeah.
And what were there any? Let's see, how should I put this? Were there any parts of that character that caused you to think a little bit more deeply about how you were going to play it?
I think the biggest thing for me was my initial thought was, okay, I don't want to play it too like serious to be. In other words, I don't want to play it too good. Because then what are people going to think about me? Like, oh, he played that really well. Is he really a creep in real life? You know what I mean? And so that went through my mind. But at the same time, it's like we need to see both sides of it, especially in life. And so it would not be doing justice to the story if I didn't do that. So really, man, that went through my mind a lot. But I think I did a good job of trying to block that out and just be as truthful as I could.
Oh no, you did a great job. I think the actor that played Commissioner Gordon in Dark Knight Rises, I want to say, I think what's his name, Ken Olin. I forget what his name is. He's always the bad guy. The guy is, prolific at being a bad guy. Now, in Batman Dark Knight Rises, he was Commissioner Gordon, so he wasn't playing a bad guy.
Yeah.
He was kind of playing a contrary guy because no one else wanted to hang with Batman other than Commissioner Gordon. So, it's kind of a right. But anyway, he was masterful in not only that film, there are many others, and there are a lot of other actors. Anytime you see them, they're always the villainous character, but they're really good at it.
Right.
And they leave with a ton of respect from the viewing audience. I mean, the actor.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, he's always a bad guy. Oh my gosh, but he's so good at it.
Yep. Yeah.
And they're good people. In
that's
real
what
life.
makes him so good. Yeah, that's what makes him so good, right?
We had an incredible cast working together on this film. Venus Monique, of course, as I mentioned, Stephanie Peterson, Carter Nelms, and Skeeta Jenkins. What was the energy like on set during those heavy and high stakes scenes? Like one in particular with you and Stephanie Peterson.
Yeah, man. I was just about to say that it felt so heavy because like she did such a good job. And I remember looking at her like, how would I ever be able to face someone's mother like that, knowing I was doing something to their kid? And it was just really intense for me, which was good because it made the story more truthful. But no, man, the cast was so cool. I remember sitting talking with Carter beforehand for like an hour, getting to know him, and just the cast, on set was great. There's some sets I've been to that are really kind of pretentious and like really intense, and no one's talking to each other. It kind of makes it hard to like get in the groove of things. But this was not like that. I really found myself enjoying being around people. It was really great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we had a great atmosphere on the set, man. I mean, everybody got along, and which made it really cool. And I don't recall exactly whether or not we did any praying before any of the scenes. I don't think we did, but I made sure that I personally made sure that I prayed before I went to set. But I mean, God was on the set. You could feel the Lord there. And, I just think that we got along so well. It's testament to the fact that God was in fact there.
Right.
I want to show a interrogation scene that we had to everyone where you and I and Carter Nelms played together. This is a snippet, ladies and gentlemen, from our short film Chance.
The Son, so that all men might be saved.
Mr. Flowers, you are a winner, sir. Says Michael Sullivan, age 7, accuses you of sexually assaulting him during a sleepover. Serious charges.
I'm not saying a word without my lawyer.
Of course, Mr. Flowers, of course, but you do realize that the testimony of a 7-year-old holds up pretty strongly in court. Little kids don't just make this kind of stuff up. I know that. You know that, and the judge and jury knows that.
Little kids make up all kinds of fantastical tales. This is what I get for opening my home and being hospitable. Some of these kids are broken. Maybe I am their saving grace.
You're right. It's your word against his. No video, no evidence. But we did get a warrant to search your home. Got a judge on the phone just after midnight. And we found some interesting chats in your file here with the Mr. Armstrong. Ring a bell? Golf buddy?
I want my lawyer.
But with Michael's testimony alone, you're looking at some serious time. And you know what they do to guys like you on the inside. Hold on, back off, hold the line. Back off, Stephen. Stand down or you're out.
Only with my lawyer.
That is your right, Mr. Flowers.
That is indeed your right, Mr. Flowers.
That was intense, man. Carter, y'all were great in that scene. That was awesome.
That was a rather intense scene. I think, all parties involved really poured their hearts into that scene. It was a really good scene, and of course, again, it's a very heavy theme. We're talking about a sexual assault of a minor here. It's a very, very heavy subject matter, and I think with faith-based filmmaking, I think the willingness to attack heavy subject matter needs to increase, and you can do that without sinning.
Right.
It can be done. But you got to be willing to tackle it and let the Holy Ghost show you how to convey a message that needs to be conveyed.
Yeah, and not like really do it the right way, not like dance around it. You know what I mean? There's, like you said, there's a way to do it without going overboard, which I think you've done well, at least I think so.
Well, I think that, a lot of people are out there. I don't think I know. There are a lot of people out there that are hiding it.
Yep.
They don't tell anyone about it. They keep it. And then the issue manifests itself in dysfunctional ways.
Yeah.
Whether it's getting along with others, getting along with your family, having an anger problem, having an addiction. I mean, you can go on and on as to how it affects people in a negative way because they don't share it with anybody.
Yeah, just festers and sits there, right?
And you can't live with that stuff.
Mm-mm.
You not only can you not live with it, the only answer is Jesus Christ.
Yep.
I mean, there are other ways. Obviously, go out and get some counseling. Go out and talk to someone. Absolutely confide in a friend. Tell someone, but you got to get that stuff out.
Yep.
And again, I must emphasize and reiterate: the best way is to seek Jesus Christ.
Yep.
And we're seeking to, make that clear to the folks that are watching the film. What do you hope audiences will take away from watching Chance, especially regarding human choices and redemption?
Man, I think I would hope people would watch it and just know that there is no shame. There's no shame in what they've experienced, what they've done. Because a lot of times, especially from my life, shame is the thing that kept me from seeking true healing. And shame is the thing that keeps us from ever growing. And I think that just know there's no shame. And it's you're not alone. We like to think that we're on an island by ourselves a lot of the time. But in reality, there's so many more people out there who we can relate to than we realize. Those are the things I would say.
No, there are so many more people out there that can relate to this kind of tragic circumstance out there, and I think that is a point well made, Spence. Point well made. You've earned your SAG-AFTRA eligibility.
I have.
Big time congrats! It's great to be a part of SAG. I mean, that's huge.
Thank you.
Published your story, starting great projects. What kinds of roles and stories, Spence, are you hungry to tackle in your next acting venture?
Man, so I tend to get typecast for like the gang member, the tough guy, which by nature of my size and my tattoos, that's easy. I get that. I would really like to tackle a very intellectual, introverted type of role, because that's the complete opposite of who I am. And that's been a challenge for me as an actor, is to really hone in and like experience that. And so just as a personal challenge, that's what I'd really like to tackle. But I'm here for anything, man. I'm glad to be a part of the ride, It's whatever I can be a part of.
Well, no, dude. It's got to be frustrating to get typecasted, and I think that but on the flip side, it's an entry point into the industry,
right?
And if you can land a couple of opportunities that kind of really highlight Spence Otto, I mean, then things can open up. But and you're deserving. I mean, you've got great range. I could see you doing a lot of different characters, and very expansive range that you have. So I could definitely see that. If you could give one piece of advice to someone out there, particularly a young person who feels like, man, how do I actually break into this industry? I want to do it. How do I get into it? What would you tell them?
I would tell them start creating your own stuff, whether that be and not completely disregarding like going try submitting for auditions. Continue doing that, but I would say start producing your own things, whether it's short films, whether if it's just reels you made by yourself. I would say start creating right now and putting your stuff out there, because a lot of times what I've learned is not only do we network with people when we do that, we start to learn who we are as an artist. And I think if we don't close ourselves off to just one avenue, it opens up a whole lot more opportunities and options for us personally, what I've learned at least.
Yes, yes. What can you tell our folks out there about, okay, we talked about Hard Knock Gospel, but also you've got a memoir called Diaries of a Homeless Junkie, which is, how can people get a copy of that? How can people follow you on Hard Knock Gospel? How can people follow Spence Otto?
So the memoir, I just finished it and I changed the name to Venom in the Vein. And it's a memoir about my life on the streets as a homeless addict, but it's written like a novel. It's written like a cinematic novel, and it takes you through the time on the streets with flashbacks about who I was, where I'm at now. I'm really excited about it. I'm trying to find a publisher. That's a big hurdle I'm going to have to jump. But my plan is to be coming out in 2027, late 2027. If I don't find a publisher, I'm going to self-publish because it's, one of my most prized possessions at this point. So that's coming out in the near future. But as far as following me, I'm on YouTube at Spencer_Brooks_Otto. And then Instagram, Hard Knock Gospel. TikTok is Hard Knock Gospel. And I also have a Substack and a blog. If you go to my YouTube, you'll see all the links there, and you can follow me from there.
Sounds good. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Maurice Brown Show. We're talking with actor Spence Otto. The show is brought to you by MAGNOS Dentistry. Spence, we're going to step away for just a moment for our sponsors here. And when we come back, we are going to wrap up our conversation. Once again, we're talking with Spence Otto on the Maurice Brown Show.
Oh, hi. I'm Maurice Brown of the Maurice Brown Show, sponsored by MAGNOS Dentistry out of Belo Horizonte, Brazil. As a matter of fact, I'm in Belo Horizonte, Brazil right now. Check it out. You see what I'm saying? MAGNOS Dentistry in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. I'm here for a teeth cleaning. I'm about to go in right now. Come on in. I'll show you around. Bernardo, secretary of MAGNOS Dentistry. Tudo bem? So I'm here for a teeth cleaning. Tá bom. Obrigado. That's Portuguese for thank you. Yeah.
Hello, Maurice.
Hey, Bernardo. Good to see you, man. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Doing great. MAGNOS Dentistry. This is the head dentist, Bernardo MAGNOS. Good to see you, buddy. This is a family business, a family-owned business. Amazing place, absolutely amazing. They combine science, precision, and art.
Let's go, man.
So this is where Bernardo does his main work right here. Bernardo?
Meu consultório, principalmente aqui na minha clínica, a gente visa muito o atendimento humanizado. Minha família já tem tradição de mais de 40 anos na odontologia e a gente usa do que tem de melhor em tecnologia para poder oferecer para os nossos pacientes o melhor tratamento possível. Então a gente recebe os nossos pacientes aqui e a gente também tem o prazer de receber pacientes de fora que vêm nos visitar.
Now, with over 25,000 patients treated using the best materials on the national and international markets, he just described to you, basically more or less in Portuguese. Let's check out some more of Bernardo's cool stuff. Come on. Okay, so this is the before and after room. You come over here, you sit down, you take your picture before. Oh, terrible. And then later, hey, I'm brand new, baby. So anyway, this is a pretty cool room, before and after. Come on, we'll show you the rest of the place. Come on. Hey, the rest of Bernardo's staff, his secretaries. Qual o seu nome? E você? Gianni, Maria, and Bernardo. Get to know these people a little bit better. MAGNOS Dentistry in Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, Brazil.
Yes, indeed. You got to love it. You got to love it. My wife and I had a chance to go to, my wife is actually from Brazil. So we had a chance to go there to Belo Horizonte and hang out with family and friends. And during the process, we were able to shoot the commercial, which was a lot of fun. And
Nice.
so big shout out to Bernardo MAGNOS of MAGNOS Dentistry. We're talking with Spence Otto on the Maurice Brown Show, which is brought to you by MAGNOS Dentistry. And by the way, you can watch this interview in its entirety on Spotify this evening and every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Mountain on kchftv.org. You can watch the Maurice Brown Show. You can see this interview in its entirety in approximately 2 weeks. That being said, getting back to Hard Knock Gospel, the I don't know if you mentioned this earlier or not, but a portion of the proceeds for Hard Knock Gospel goes directly toward funding homeless outreach. And then I don't know if I hate to repeat myself, but if I didn't ask you, how can viewers and listeners tuning into this show support the movement and get involved?
Yeah, so I sell merch as part of my brand. I sell merchandise, and every sale, 25% of that goes to my homeless outreach. And the homeless outreach, what it is, it's just I go back to the streets where I was homeless, and I'll give out food, water, blankets, and stuff like that. A lot of times it's just me, so it's not some big production. And the whole thing about it is I just go and love on people. There's not like what's the word? An agenda. I just go and tell people my story. If they ask, if they don't, hey, here's some water. It's just to let people know they're not forgotten, things like that. So if you go to my Instagram page, there's a link for that as well. It'll take you to the merch site. And yeah, that's what it is.
So as I said, I moved here to Austin recently. 2022, I moved here to Austin. And I've been a stand-up comedian for maybe 15 years roundabout as well. And I was doing comedy when I first got here. I was doing comedy quite a bit, but since slowed down. But one of the things, because it was so shocking, I got to say this. The people of Austin are really, I think overall, are really good to the homeless population.
Yeah.
I really believe that. Coming from Washington, D.C., where people are just intolerant in every way, shape, form, and fashion, that's not the case in Austin. So I was going to a show, and I got to be honest, I think it was on 6th Street or San Jacinto. I was doing comedy at, I think it was San Jack Saloon. I forget what it was. But there were homeless people everywhere, dude. And I had never seen anything like that. I mean, there were all over the streets. But then you had other people that were going to shows, they're going to restaurants, high-end restaurants. They were going to just nicely dress it. And it was almost as if, as part of the landscape.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, was absolutely shocked. And so anyway, I'm thinking about, so I got to the show and I came up with a joke as I was walking to the show, and I added it. And I just said, you got to love the people here at Austin. I mean, they're so friendly with the homeless. It's amazing. I mean, I've walked by several folks and in conversation with a few homeless individuals, like, hey, Frank, how's the family? Man, good to see you. Looks like, yeah, man. What'd you do with your hair, Mitch? Anyway, so then, as I was telling the joke, a homeless guy walked in as I was telling the joke, and he sat down at the bar. He rather enjoyed my set.
Nice. Wow. Couldn't have scripted it better.
No, you couldn't have scripted it any better, because I said, oh my gosh, I hope I'm not stepping in any kimchi here. But the guy, and actually it was a pretty decent set, but I'll never forget that, because he enjoyed the set like a lot.
Awesome.
And,
Yeah.
You know, but I really think the way the city of Austin operates in that regard is quite commendable, and you are to be commended for not forgetting your experience and giving back to those that are still out there.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to. Austin, largely is a great place. I think a lot of people mean well. I've never been up north, but I've definitely heard horror stories for sure. So,
yeah. And, I don't want to let everyone know that I'm working on a film called Unknown Kingdom right now. And I did this in 2024 and garnered a best micro short film in the Philippines. And I had 3 other nominations as well. And so now I'm doing the full feature length version, and I'm working on high net funding for this one. I'm very close to it. Whenever we hit the bullseye, I'll let everyone know more details on the project, but it looks like we're really close to a high net investment. So
awesome.
Pretty exciting stuff there. And it does talk about, serious issues where people look all squared away and, they're not, surely that family's got it all together. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Right.
And it's happening in the United States, and it's all based on the prayers of a grandmother. And then that's when spiritual warfare comes into play, and
right.
Angels and demons engage in warfare based on not just the grandmother's prayers, but anyone's prayer.
Yeah.
If you go to Daniel, the book of Daniel in chapter 10, and Daniel's praying on his knees for 21 days. And finally, Gabriel broke through, and Daniel wanted to know what took so long. And Gabriel said, from the moment you prayed, your answer was sent by God.
Wow.
However, in the midair, Gabriel was met by the prince of Persia. Now, this is a huge demon. This is a mega-sized demon. And so big, he had to be helped by Michael, the war angel. But the reason the battle was won is because Daniel stayed on his knees and fasting and praying.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
right.
So what the story tells us is that when we don't get an immediate answer, don't quit. We get discouraged, we get disheartened, and we think that, either God didn't hear our prayers, what's the use, it's not worth it, and we give up.
Right.
But the reality is sometimes we could be so close to a blessing and give up and never get there. Got this close sometimes. Yeah. And it's about, what do they call it? Laboring in prayer for something.
Right.
Which will include, depending on how big the demon is, how many demons are involved, may include fasting.
Yeah.
Because I look at fasting like napalm, Spence. I mean, dude, fasting is like napalm to me. It's like, you know what? We are going to put a wrap to all of this business right now.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a certain power, that goes beyond just praying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are some prayers that's not going to get answered unless you fast and pray, period. I mean, even Jesus told the disciples this. I wish I could think of the scripture. If anyone knows what it is, please write it, type it in. But Jesus came down from the mountain. He was fasting and praying. He came down, and the disciples were trying to cast a demon out of a little boy, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And Jesus said, what's going on here? They explained it to him. And, he just said, in so many words, I got this. and just like a moment, Jesus just cast the spirit out. The boy was flopping and flipping all over the place because that demon didn't want to come out. But Jesus said, come out. And he had to let the boy go.
Right.
And the disciples were like, why, what's going on? Why couldn't we do this? Well, Jesus said, first of all, it's your faith. He said, the other part of it is this. Don't worry about it, because this kind will only come out with fasting and praying. Which I found quite intriguing reading that scripture, because that means it connotes the fact that there are other demons and demonic situations that will not move unless you fast.
Right.
Along with prayer.
I haven't thought. I'm not good about fasting, man. I need to go back and read that. That's interesting. You said that. I've been thinking about that lately too.
It is utterly amazing, Spence, how powerful that element of prayer is.
Right.
It's a game changer. Fasting is a flat out game changer. I think the issue in America, and I'm just using it as an example, any first world country where Christians are congregated, it could be here, it could be Canada, it could be England, it could be France, you just name it. And I think the reticence to fast is high because, we're in high productive societies. I could go to McDonald's, I could go to Golden Corral, I could go get some Baskin Robbins ice cream. I can get, a $10, $15, venti, caramel latte, and I go on and on and on. I mean, there's so much good stuff out there. It's just difficult to say, I'm not going to eat for 2 days or 3 days.
Yeah. Right.
And it's not an easy undertaking. It's not, and then, there's some people that go 7 days, 14 days. I mean, depending on what you want to do and how bad you want something.
There's a guy in my old recovery circles. He used to say, how free do you want to be? He was talking about some along those lines, how free do you want to be? So,
Spence, I'm sure you've heard the old adage, desperate men do desperate things.
Oh yeah.
and it couldn't be more true in Christendom.
Right.
It could. I mean, it's like, how bad do you want God? How much do you want to pursue the Lord? I mean, that's what it comes down to, and if depending on how bad you want him, he will show up. And he will show up in a mighty way. There was a verse too, and I know I'm kind of talking your head off, Spence. I didn't mean to do that, but there's another scripture where I think a young lady, a woman she wasn't even a Jew. We would call it a Christian in our day. And she wanted Jesus to heal her son. And Jesus said, I can't, because I only came for the children of Israel. Right. And she said, yes. He said, I didn't come for the dogs. I mean, this is Jesus talking, dude. He said, I didn't come for the dogs. And she said, yes, master, but even the dogs eat the crumbs from their master's table. He went, whoa, woman, you have great faith. I got you.
I remember that. That's a great passage. So
utterly amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's utterly amazing. So I think we leave ourselves short of a lot of things that the Lord is willing to do, but we have to be willing to meet him halfway.
Right.
He's like, and so that's the thing that we just need. We have great power at our behest that we don't use, that we don't access.
Yeah.
We're literally walking with the Holy Spirit right in here. All he's waiting for is for you to give him a command. Hey, talk to me. Talk to me. We know he's there, and it's not an it. The Holy Ghost is not an it. The Holy Ghost is he. He's a person.
Right.
And so with that being said, I think, Spence, I've rattled on quite enough. But, dude, I want to thank you for being on the show, and thank you once again for being in our film Chance, which we did last year, 2025. That's me and Carter Nelms, who actually Carter was the star of the film as Stephen Riker, and we just got nominated at Content Christian Media Conference in Weatherford, Texas. September 25th is when the Honor Awards banquet will be held. We were nominated for Best Short Film. Now, Spence, you're going to be there, I take it.
I will be there. Yes, sir.
So it's going to be an awesome experience. By the way, if anyone is out there that's interested in going, go to contentchristianmediaconference.com. You can get tickets for. Going to be a lot of great faith-based films there, as feature-length documentaries, comedies. My good buddy Leland Klassen, who's a stand-up comedian in Canada, has a film out called Empty Nets. It's kind of like a comedic version of The Chosen.
No, nice.
It's really, I love Leland. He's really funny. But anyway, you're going to see a lot of good Christian content at quote unquote, as it were, in faith-based filmmaking. And so that's going to be the awards banquet, by the way, is going to be at 5 p.m. Doors open at 4:30, and you can be a part of the awards banquet. Once again, Carter, I'm sorry, Spence, can you let everyone know one last time how they can follow you?
Yeah, so YouTube at Spencer_Brooks_Otto, or Instagram at Hard Knock Gospel, and all my links for TikTok, blog, everything else is on there as well.
I love it. And once again, we're brought to you by MAGNOS Dentistry out of Belo Horizonte, Brazil. And we come your way every week. We have a show, and also we do Breaking Down the Four Walls, which is a Bible podcast with comedians, and we're going to be on tomorrow night at 7 here live on YouTube, and also every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Mountain. You can see the Maurice Brown Show, sponsored by MAGNOS Dentistry. Spence Otto will be on that show in 2 weeks. KCHFTV.org out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. So with that being said, we're going to step on out of here and let you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Spence Otto, once again, sir, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been quite an honor. And not only having you on the show, quite an honor working with you on our short film Chance. May the peace of Jesus Christ continue to be with you and your family. God bless you.
Thanks, brother.